Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever wondered why, after going through some pretty difficult or chaotic experiences, your mind just absolutely refuses to let you relax? Well, today we are exploring the psychology behind the trauma response, and specifically, why trauma makes us expect the absolute worst. We're going to completely reframe how you look at your own mind today. We're talking about your brain not as something that's broken, but rather as this overactive security system that's just trying a little too hard to keep you safe. Okay, let's dive right into this. So, nothing is happening, but why does your brain still feel like something is terribly wrong? Man, it is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? Just imagine you're sitting on your couch on a quiet Sunday afternoon. The house is totally silent, the doors are locked, you've got absolutely zero immediate obligations. By all logical measures, you are entirely safe. And yet your heart is racing, your breath might feel kind of shallow, and your mind is just frantically scanning for problems, flipping through this mental Rolodex of every single thing that could potentially go wrong. This is such a confusing paradox that so many of us experience. The environment is screaming that you're fine, but your internal alarms are just blaring at full volume. If you have ever felt this way, I really want to validate that experience for you right out of the gate. You aren't imagining things, and actually, more importantly, you are definitely not going crazy. Your nervous system is really just operating on a highly specific set of rules based on your past experiences. It's desperately trying to protect you from a threat that honestly just isn't there anymore. To truly understand those rules, we need to take a look at the biology of trauma psychology. That brings us to Section 1, the brain's survival mode. So let's talk about hypervigilance. This is a state where the brain learns to constantly search for signs of danger, even when the environment is completely safe now. And what's really interesting about this concept is that it totally removes the whole idea of a personal failing. Hypervigilance is absolutely not a weakness or some kind of character flaw. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a highly effective, incredibly sophisticated biological survival tool. Think of it kind of like a home security system, or maybe a smoke detector that's been cranked up so high it goes off at the slightest hint of steam from your shower. When you were in a chaotic or difficult situation in the past, your brain learned that being on high alert was literally what kept you safe. It learned to constantly map out the exits, read those super subtle shifts in people's moods, and always expect danger so you wouldn't be caught off guard. Your brain did exactly what it was supposed to do. It adapted to a hostile environment. The only real problem here is that this brilliant survival mechanism has simply overstayed its welcome. It's like it's playing a really old, outdated tape in a brand new, completely safe room. So, how does this survival mode actually show up in our day-to-day lives? Let's move to Section 2, scanning for hidden dangers.
To a hypervigilant brain, small changes feel absolutely massive. We're talking about everyday things, unexpected sounds, minor shifts in your routine, or even just sudden silence. Now, to a nervous system that isn't trapped in survival mode, a canceled meeting or a really vague two-word email from your boss is just, a minor annoyance. He'd probably just think, oh well, they must be busy, and move right along with your day. But to a brain that has learned to expect the absolute worst, these harmless changes are instantly misinterpreted as massive incoming threats. That short email suddenly means, oh no, I'm getting fired. A friend taking a couple of extra hours to text back obviously means they secretly hate you. Your brain acts as this hypersensitive threat detection machine, taking totally neutral data and instantly calculating the absolute worst-case scenario. It is genuinely exhausting. But it's totally normal for your body to react this strongly when it mistakenly believes you're under attack. It's basically treating a paper cut like a life-threatening wound, purely because it just doesn't want to risk being wrong.
Now, this brings up a massive point of confusion for a whole lot of people, which leads us nicely into Section 3, intuition versus trauma fear.
So there's a really stark contrast between these two things. True intuition is calm. It's this quiet knowing that's grounded entirely in the present moment. Trauma fear, on the other hand, is frantic, it's loud, it's panic-driven, and honestly, most importantly, it is anchored entirely in past experiences. When your brain is expecting the worst, it actually often disguises that anxiety as a gut feeling. You might catch yourself thinking, man, I have a really bad feeling about this. My intuition is telling me something's off. But what's really fascinating here is how the brain actually stores traumatic memories. During really stressful events, the brain's fear center, the amygdala, goes into complete overdrive. Meanwhile, the hippocampus, which is the part that normally timestamps memories as being securely in the past, well, it basically goes offline. Because of this biological glitch, trauma fear doesn't actually feel like a memory. It feels like an immediate, right-now kind of threat. So if your gut feeling is frantic and practically screaming at you, causing real physical panic, yeah, it's very likely your trauma response trying to protect you from a ghost of the past, rather than true intuition guiding you steadily in the present.
Recognizing that difference definitely takes time. But as you start to untangle the two, you might encounter something deeply counterintuitive. That's section 4, when safety feels uncomfortable. So think about this for a second. When your brain is accustomed to chaos, a completely safe room can honestly feel like a trap. This is perhaps the absolute most difficult and misunderstood part of trauma psychology. I mean, why on earth would safety feel unnerving? Why would peace and quiet make you feel like you're about to jump right out of your skin? Well, look at it this way. If your brain has spent months or maybe even years learning that the other shoe is always going to drop, then peace and quiet start to feel incredibly suspicious. You've basically been conditioned to believe that stability is just a temporary illusion. To a nervous system that's totally used to chaos, a lack of danger doesn't feel like actual safety. It feels like the terrifying calm right before a massive storm. It feels like you're completely blind to a threat that simply must be lurking just out of sight. You start thinking, well, if I can't see the danger right now, it must be absolutely huge when it finally hits. And that is exactly why finally being in a healthy relationship, landing a secure job, or just sitting in a safe environment can ironically trigger the most intense anxiety imaginable. Your brain literally doesn't know how to navigate peace because peace has never been its baseline. But hey, the incredible news here is that your brain is highly adaptable. The exact same way it learned to expect danger, it can absolutely unlearn it. Which brings us to our final section, retraining your mind.
So the crucial point here is how we actually put this into practice using neuroplasticity, which is really just a fancy word for the brain's remarkable ability to completely rewire itself based on new experiences. Step 1 is simply to recognize the hypervigilance. When you feel that frantic, chest-tightening anxiety hitting you, just pause and literally label it out loud. Say to yourself, okay, this is just my security system going off. This is not a real threat. By naming it, you actually engage the logical part of your brain and start to dial down that fear center. Step 2 is acknowledging your current safety. You can't just tell your brain you're safe. You really have to prove it. Look around your physical environment and actively point out proof that you are okay right now, in this exact moment. Notice that the door is closed, feel the solid chair you're sitting on, or just observe that the people around you are totally relaxed. And finally, step 3 is teaching the nervous system to rest. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, for sure. It happens slowly, over time, through very deliberate actions, like taking deep, slow exhales, which biologically signal to your heart that it is safe to slow down. By practicing these grounding exercises and repeatedly showing your brain that it's allowed to stand down, we're actively forging brand new neural pathways. We're retraining the brain to finally recognize, accept, and even really enjoy safety.
I want to leave you with one final, really powerful thought today. If your nervous system successfully learned to survive chaos, just imagine how powerfully it can learn to thrive in peace. I mean, your mind is incredibly resilient. Its profound ability to adapt to danger is the exact thing that kept you alive when you needed it the most. Now, just imagine taking all of that incredible power, that neuroplasticity, that deep adaptability, and redirecting it toward healing, toward peace, toward actually thriving right here in the present moment. The capacity for all of that is already built right into you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Just keep taking those small, patient steps to show your nervous system that it really is safe to rest. And I will see you next time.